Without doubt, Raiden Shogun is the star of 4.3-second phase banners. I already feel sorry for Yuamiya, she won't have a chance competing with this. Hello guys, I am Kato, and I made this guide about Raiden because she's my favorite character in the game, and I want you to make the best of her. So in this video we will break down everything you need to know about Raiden, including her kit, artifacts, weapons, best teams, and constellations. Without further ado, let's get to it. Raiden Shogun is one of the most popular characters Hoyoverse has ever released, and broke several revenue records whenever she appeared. It's not just because Raiden pulls a sword out of her chest, but also because she is one of the most powerful characters you can have. Wielding her polearm and electro powers, Raiden makes a strong and flexible DPS, who can offer utility in the form of energy, buffs, and electro application to the rest of her team. Her skill Transcendence Baleful Omen unveils a shard of her euthymia, dealing electro damage to nearby opponents, and granting party members the Eye of Stormy Judgment. So when a character attack and deal damage to opponents, the Eye will unleash a coordinated attack, dealing AoE electro damage at the opponent's position every 0.9 seconds. And if the coordinated attacks generated by characters not controlled by you, like when they get generated by your friend's characters in co-op, they will deal only 20% of the normal damage. At talent level 9, this skill will boost all of your party members' elemental burst damage by 30% of any character's burst cost. Taking Xiangling as an example, her burst cost is 80 energy, she will get 24% damage boost for her burst. The good thing about Raiden's skill that it has 100% uptime, which makes its off-field electro application very easy to play. Moving on to Raiden Elemental Burst, Raiden unleashes the Mizuno Hitatachi, dealing AoE electro damage upon cast. Afterward, Raiden will use Mizuishin. When she pulls that electro-infused sword from her chest, she can use that sword for 7 seconds. During this duration, her damage is considered an elemental burst damage. Her resistance to interruption increase, and she gets immunity to electrocharged reaction damage. On top of that, when she hits an enemy during that 7 seconds, she regenerates energy for the whole party. This effect can be triggered every 1 second, and capped at 5 times. The most important part of Raiden Shogun's elemental burst is the Chakra Desiderata, an effect that stores resolve stacks that can boost Raiden elemental burst damage according to the consumed resolve stat. When the burst is cast, resolve stacks are capped at 60 stacks and will disappear 5 minutes after Raiden leaves the field. We can obtain resolve stacks when a party member uses an elemental burst. The gained resolve stacks will scale with the burst energy cost. Furthermore, we can gain resolve stacks from Raiden's first ascension passive, which will give us 2 resolve stacks for every elemental orbs or particles gained by party members every 3 seconds. Talking about her passives, her 4th Ascension passive will give us 0.6% greater energy restoration from the burst, and 0.4% electro damage bonus. For each 1% energy recharge she possesses over 100%, while her normal passive will decrease the required Mora for ascending swords and polearms by 50%. That's pretty much everything about her kit, so let's talk a bit about her playstyle. Raiden Shogun can be played as main DPS, sub DPS, and can be played as an electro enabler. As main and sub DPS, Raiden will be used to deal damage. In a main DPS team, the team will revolve around her damage and burst. At C0, she can deal a decent amount of damage, but at C2 her burst will get huge boost, increasing her potentials as DPS, and in sub DPS team you will use her to deal some damage, and buff your team since she can boost their damage, and work as battery to regenerate energy. As an electro enabler, she's mostly used in Hyper Bloom teams, since she has a very good electro application from her skill, which works so well in Hyper Bloom teams. When leveling up her talents as a DPS, we should give priority to her elemental burst, then elemental skill, and keep normal attack to the end. And as electro enabler, we should give priority to her elemental skill, then elemental burst, and keep normal attack to the end. Though you won't need to use normal attack, so you can keep it at level 1, it won't make no difference. Now that we know everything about her kit and playstyle, we can choose the perfect artifact set for her. If you're gonna play her as main or sub DPS, then without doubt our first choice is 4 pieces of Emblem of Severed Fate. This artifact gives you everything she wants in one package: 20% energy recharge on 2 pieces, and on 4 pieces increases burst damage by 25% of the possessed energy recharge to a maximum of 75% damage bonus. Our second choice is to go 2 pieces Emblem of Severed Fate and 2 pieces Thundering Fury, which will give us 20% energy recharge and 15% electro damage bonus. The third and last choice is to go 2 pieces Emblem of Severed Fate and 2 pieces Noblesse Oblige to get 20% energy recharge and 20% burst damage. For DPS and sub-DPS build we need to get Energy Recharge Sands, Electro Damage Bonus Goblet, and Crit Rate or Damage Circlet. As for the substats, prioritize Crit Rate and Damage first, then Energy Recharge, Attack Percentage, and lastly Elemental Mastery. In case you want to play her as Hyper Bloom Enabler, then the best artifact set is 4 pieces of Flower of Paradise Lost. This artifact will give us 80 Elemental Mastery and 40% Hyper Bloom damage bonus. On top of that, it will give us 20 Elemental Mastery every time we trigger Hyper Bloom reaction for 10 seconds, and this effect can stack 4 times. This set is so good for Raiden, since Elemental Mastery is what she needs for this role. We can go 4 pieces Gilded Dreams set as a substitute, which will give us 80 Elemental Mastery and an increased attack percent and Elemental Mastery after triggering Elemental reaction based on the elemental type of the other party members. For a last substitute, we can use 2 pieces Gilded Dreams and 2 pieces Wanderer's Troop to get 160 Elemental Mastery. For the main stats we need to get triple Elemental Mastery. As for the substats, give priority to Elemental Mastery first, then Crit Rate and Damage, then Energy Recharge. Moving on to her best weapons, if you gotta play her DPS, then without doubt her signature weapon Engulfing Lightning is the first pick. Increasing her attack by 28% of the energy recharge over the base 100% for a maximum of 80% bonus, and giving her huge amount of energy recharge. The second best weapon for her is Staff of Homa. It is unlikely she will ever benefit from the low HP passive, but the raw stats still make this a great option, and if we talk about 4-star polearms, then you won't find better than the catch. This weapon have valuable passive, increasing Raiden elemental burst damage and crit rate plus an energy recharge bonus effect, and it's F2P polearm that you can get from Kujirai Momiji in Inazuma, and you can refine it to R5, though you will need to spend some time fishing to do that. But don't forget that you can use Wavebreaker's Fin as a substitute, with an attack percent bonus and the ability to boost Raiden burst by 40%. In case you will play Raiden in Hyper Bloom team, then our first pick is Dragon's Bane. With its high elemental mastery substats, and the ability to increase the damage against hydro-affected enemies, and you can use Ballad of the Fjords or Moonpiercer as a substitute. Both of them increase elemental mastery and fit Raiden in this playstyle so well. Now let's talk about team comps. For a main DPS we can use Raiden Hyper Carry team with Kazuha as sub-DPS, and both Bennett and Kujusera as support. This team focuses on increasing Raiden Shogun's personal damage to the max, using Kazuha's elemental damage bonus and Sarah and Bennett's attack bonus buffs before landing Raiden's burst damage. We can also use Raiden International team. This team is F2P friendly with both Xiangling and Xingqiu as sub-DPS, and Bennett as support. This team focuses on dealing constant burst damage thanks to Raiden's ability to nearly fully recharging the team's burst cost. We can replace Xiangling with Nahida or Eula, and Xingqiu with Yelan or Furina. As for Bennett, we can replace him with Kujusera or Chevreuse. If you want to play Raiden as sub-DPS or Electro Enabler, then this Hyper Bloom team is very good with Alhaitham as main DPS, Nahida as sub-DPS, and Xingqiu as support. Also we can replace Alhaitham with Child, Xingqiu with Yelan, and Nahida with Baizhu. As for F2P team we can use Barbara, Kale, and Dendro Traveler. Finally we got to her Constellations. Starting with her C1, she will gather resolve stacks faster by 20% when a character uses its burst, and by 80% when Electro character uses burst. Her C2 is the best constellation she have, and luckily it came early. With this constellation Raiden burst will ignore 60% of opponent's defense. Raiden C0 is good, but if you can get that C2 it will be a very good boost for you Raiden. As usual C3 and C5 will increase talent skill and burst by 3 levels. while C4 will boost team members excluding Raiden by 30% attack bonus for 10 seconds after elemental burst expires, and lastly her C6 will reduce team members' burst cooldown by 1 second every time Raiden hit opponents during her burst duration. This take effect on team members excluding Raiden. Raiden Shogun will be broken if she gets all her constellations, but just like I said, the best constellation you want is that C2. And don't worry if you can't get it, Raiden is still very good at C0, and you won't regret pulling for her. If you found this video useful, don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.